So we're going to talk about the backstory of the buck that we call the Tank 8. Throughout the video, you're going to hear me reference him as a 6-year-old, at least a 6-year-old buck. And I'm not going to lie, during making this video, I've kind of went through some more trail cam photos, and I have pictures of him back in 2016 where he looks like he could be a 3-year-old. And if that's the case, he might actually be seven plus. So, but he is at least 6.5 years old. So you'll hear me reference that quite a bit throughout the video, but there's a good chance he could be older. So we'll start with when I initially first realized the Tank 8 buck and how he got his name was in the 2017 season. I started getting a couple pictures of him. His rack just wasn't, it wasn't anything great. Probably like a 115 buck. I think he was just a 9-point then. But I just noticed he had a really big body, especially compared to his rack. So kind of why I started calling him the Tank 8, mainframe 8, but he was a 9-point. That year, I actually was able to go in this one valley, and on one of the top tiers, I was actually able to find the complete set of his rack that year. Well, here we are again. I snuck out here early this morning to listen for some birds, and heard a couple. It's pretty windy today, and then I started doing some shed hunting, and I was actually looking for this nice young 9-point that we have down here, and just walking this ridge top where I thought he might be, and right here we go. Got a complete set here, so pretty excited. I mean, in this stuff, it's so hard to find sheds because it's just everything blends in, and I mean I pretty much just walked right up on top of these. Okay, and then 2018 season kind of rolled around, and I kind of had him in the back of my mind, hoping that he would blow up a little bit from the past year. And 2018 came, and we got pictures of him, and he looked almost exactly the same as he did the year before. And yeah, a little disappointed. Still had a giant body, so we still knew it was the Tank 8. But I actually never even saw him from stand that year. I was actually planning on trying to hunt him late muzzleloader season that year, and I actually ended up moving to a different part of the property to hunt a bigger buck that I was successful at harvesting that year. So he once again lived another year. Nobody even saw him on hoof. At this time we thought he was at least mature. So the 2018 shed season comes around, and I actually, before I even got down to even doing any shed hunting, the landowner had already picked up one of his sides on a path, on a logging road, not far from where I found his complete set the year before. And so then I was determined to find that other side, and sure enough, one morning while turkey scouting, I found his other side that was out in the middle of just a green clover mix field. I'm down here in southern Ohio again, walking up here in the little green path, and there's a nice shed laying right here, so let's go pick it up. So then the 2019 season rolls around, and I know we knew he would be there, hoping that maybe finally he'd put on some inches, and again he really didn't. He was just always wide. He never had the tine length. Even mass wise, he never really had the mass compared to how old we thought he was. At this point we thought he was 5 years old. Body as big as ever, and at that year, I would definitely shoot him. Knowing that he's 5 years old, There was no way that I was going to pass him. He wasn't really my primary target at all, and I ended up actually tagging out like November 4th that year. So I really didn't even get a chance to hunt him. I had just put up a brand new blind. That is actually the blind that I just shot the non-typical out of, and the blind that actually we used to harvest the Tank 8 buck. We just put up that blind that year in 19 in August. He was still showing up in that food plot, so he got used to the blind, but I never even got to hunt it because I tagged out within the first day of my rut vacation that year on a different property. So I think my dad and brother, they hunted like maybe once or twice for him, and still got a ton of pictures of him. He was a big homebody, and at this point I was getting pictures of him and the buck, the non-typical buck that I shot this year. They both kind of shared some of the same area. So then here comes 2019 shed season, and my cousin Bobby and I, we went looking for the Tank 8 sheds and the non-typical buck sheds that I had found, that I gotten this year, and actually on a path, a tier very similar to the one that I found his complete set back in 17. Sure enough, my cousin Bobby walks right up on the complete set, and cousin Bobby here just found a pair. I don't know, man. They might be. Is it the big brow? You don't think so? Oh, it's Tank 8 then, guaranteed. Tank 8 missing a brow tine. This will be 3 years in a row. We have Tank 8's complete set. 3 years in a row. That's Tank 8. Before I have you pick them up. Look at that. Yes, sir. Yep. Tank 8 missing a brow tine on the left. There's his other side. Alright, bud. Pick him up. Pretty sure he's 5 years old. And he's not a real tall buck, but just real wide. Real wide buck. But his body's huge, which is why he got the name Tank 8. But beautiful little set there. And you've probably seen some of these shed videos if you've watched any of my past shed videos on this channel. You might recognize some of these clips, but I just wanted to go back through and show you exactly which buck this was that we had found. So sure enough, we find the Tank 8's complete set right on a tier in a bed again, all within probably a 500-yard radius of where we have found all his sheds in the past as well. So here we go. We got 3 complete sets off this deer. We know he's pushing 6 years old, at least 6 years old at this point. And at this point, I'm just thinking that he's probably not going to grow at all, even the following year. It seemed like most of his nutrition went into his body instead of his rack. So sure enough, the 2020 season rolls around here, and first couple pictures I get is him with this non-typical buck. Easy to identify, the Tank 8 buck. Giant body again. I think what was most impressive about him, body-wise, is he had really good muscle tone. It seemed for years that he just was really stocky, and that's why we called him the Tank, because that's kind of how he was built. So 2020 summer, he's there all the time, getting a ton of pictures of him in velvet. And then realistically, he wasn't really one of my main targets. Obviously, if he would have came by, I would have shot him. But I was really hoping for that non-typical buck or another buck on the other property. So as luck would have it, here we are, 2020 season. And me personally, I still have not seen him from hoof. So, as if you watched this last video I posted, I shot the non-typical buck out of this blind we put up 2 days before gun season. And after we got my buck out of there, I was still checking cameras, and 2 days after I shot that buck, the Tank 8 shows up, and he's there. So I told my dad, I said, you know, we were trying to hunt a different buck on the other part of the property, but I said, hey, you know, our best bet to kill a mature buck right now may be the Tank 8, and it may be out of the same blind that I just killed mine out of a couple of days prior. So my dad hunted the first 2 days of gun, never saw him, but the Tank 8 was still there based off my cell cameras. And Saturday rolls around, and we drive down, and we hunt the morning and checked a couple cameras, and told my dad, I said, you know, our best chances, we got to go after the Tank 8. We had a feeling, I just had a feeling that he would come down into the food plot with the same group of does that my non-typical was with. There was a lot of pressure around us. We're surrounded by public land, and sure enough, my dad went in Saturday night. I stayed at the cabin. You know, I wanted to give him as much room as possible in the blind, and I stepped out on the porch right around prime time. You know, just to hear and just to listen to see if I could, you know, hear a gunshot or something. And sure enough, I was only out there 5 minutes, and I heard a gunshot go off right back where my blind was, and I knew instantly as soon as I heard that gunshot that the Tank 8 was dead, without a doubt. There he is. That's where he was when I shot him. Yeah, that's a heck of a shot. There, yep, that's him. Yep, that's him. That's Tank. Oh, man. No way. I don't believe it. Tanky. The old Tank. Yeah, wow. Look at that sucker. Heck yeah.
Look at the neck on him. It's still huge.
Yeah. Look at that. Yeah, there he is. Tank 8 buck. 6-year-old deer. We have 3 complete sets of sheds off that deer. Because that's the set you found last year, Bobby. Yep. 6-year-old buck. Shot out of the same blind that the non-typical was shot out of just a couple days ago. Man, cannot believe it. Ancient dude. Ancient buck.
Right through the neck.
That's what I'll shoot for.
Real nice old body. Yeah.
Open sight.
His neck is what's huge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he broke that brow tine off. He never was, you know, crazy tall or anything, just decent mass and wide. He's mostly just wide.
Yeah.
As soon as he shined the headlights on him, it's like, wow, you know, just something seems so ancient. There he is laying. You know, it's a really weird feeling when you walk up on a deer that you've known for so long, and there he is finally laying there dead, and you actually get to touch him for the first time. It's a really weird feeling. It's just you're in disbelief that it's finally here. Like, this is finally him. And, you know, and a little part of me was kind of sad. You're kind of sad to see a story end on this old buck. Like I said, 6, maybe 7 years old. To know that he's walked the woods in the hills of southeast Ohio for that many years without being shot. You know, to know that it's finally done and over with, you know, we'll never get pictures of him again. It's a kind of a sad, you know, very weird feeling, but super excited too that we were actually able to pull that off. You know, he's not the best scoring buck, but age is age. You know, he's just as smart as any other 186.5-year-old buck out there. Rack does not define intelligence when it comes to deer. That deer has survived for years in those hills. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, you know, no kill shot, but that's, you know, we're not really huge on, you know, having to get the kill shot on. We're just trying to document, you know, our hunting season, just for our friends and family and anybody who's, you know, who wants to watch. So, you know, we appreciate anybody who's watching this, and hope you enjoy the story of the Tank 8.